Today's guest is Janet Robin, a Grammy-winning guitarist, composer, and songwriter whose work spans rock, film, film scoring, and instrumental music.
Welcome, Janet, to Artist Conversation.
Hello in India, and hello in Oceanside, California.
Yes, SoCal. Yeah. It's so excited to have you. Like I was telling you earlier, Janet, when Suraj told me about you, I started immediately going and, listening, researching, and reading a lot about you. And I was so excited. I'm like, yes, let's, super excited to talk to her.
There's nothing bad out there.
No. In fact, there was a lot of inspiring stuff. But let's I just want to jump right into it. You started starting from your origin and roots. You started studying guitar with the legendary Randy Rhoads when you were still a kid. So, what did that mentorship teach you that stayed with you throughout your entire career and even now?
Well, I actually started guitar with on acoustic with other
Hmm.
teachers,
Hmm.
and at around 6, 7 years old, and then around 9 years old, both my brother and myself, we were both taking guitar lessons. He is older than me, and he decided he wanted to take electric guitar lessons, and of course, I had to do everything he did. So, you know, I begged my parents, I wanna move to electric as well, and my mom somehow got a referral for a great electric guitar teacher at a little music school that happened to be like around the corner, literally, like really close to where we grew up.
Hmm.
So she was like, "Oh, this sounds great," and so my brother and I moved over to Musonia, which is the school that Randy Rhoads' mother ran, and,
Hmm.
Oh,
we started taking from him around, you know, I guess I moved over to him at 9, and at the time,
Wow.
I think I was the youngest. I may have only been the youngest student that he ever had. I think he had maybe one other girl, but, I stayed with him all the way until he got the gig with Ozzy. So,
That's
yeah,
amazing. I mean, but
you know
tell us some more like things that you would hear, or things that you would sometimes discuss, or things that he would tell you, like that because at the time, at least, if correct me if I'm wrong, but you were still not in the scene or the circuit, right?
no,
So
no. We're talking 1977,
okay, okay.
'cause I'm 59,
Hmm.
wow.
and so I started on this Strat, Fender Strat. Somebody has that because it got stolen out of my mom's station wagon. Um, and then
Oh.
I got a Les Paul because I took the insurance money and my mom got me a Les Paul because he played Les Paul. And I was just my lessons were so, and by the way, lessons were like $8 for a half hour.
Wow.
And you know, every lesson I took with him was just special. He was special. He was an amazing an amazing musician,
Hmm.
yes, amazing guitar player, but also a great songwriter. And, he was so good and so unique. I'd never seen or heard anybody play like him. Yes, Van Halen was just coming out, but
Hmm.
Van Halen was doing the tapping and Randy was doing the pull off, and putting a little bit more classical stuff in there, but also blues, basic blues stuff, and
Right.
pop song. If you listen to Crazy Train, it
Uh-huh.
sounds like a pop song, like the riff itself,
Hmm.
Yes.
Hmm.
It actually sounds like a Steve Miller song to me. But anyway, so he knew, I think, how to utilize, his extraordinary skill during, the solos of songs and some little riffs here and there. But he also was a great songwriter and, played upon making sure that the songs he wrote had a catchy riff. You know
Yeah.
I'm on my acoustic, but you know, that kind of thing. That's a
Yeah.
that's a catchy riff. But then he goes into That sounds like a pop song to me.
Yeah, yeah.
So I can tell you right off the bat that just we did things like that where he would come up with progressions, and he would show me a progression and I would play it and then he would do this crazy, lead guitar shit. Sorry about my language. Um,
It's okay.
No, that's fine.
and I'd be like, "Oh my God." And then he'd say, "Okay, let me show you how I did it, how I did this one riff or had this one technique." And then we would trade and he would play the progression which he came up with. And then I would, try to play, some of the things he would show me. So there was a lot of back and forth of that. And I think with just those coming up with progressions on the spot and things like that taught me a little bit about songwriting. And also the importance of, making a riff part of a song, making it like a motif, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's the songwriting part. The technique part and all the fast stuff in it, that was just like, reps of doing stuff just over and over. And, he actually, I think the biggest lesson I learned from him was you got to have the discipline to practice. I mean,
Mm.
if you don't practice, what's the point?
What's the point? Yeah, yeah.
Right.
So,
And
so talking about that, like, how
yeah,
much did you practice then after
I
he
was
told you that?
I was already obsessed, with the acoustic guitar. So
Okay.
already obsessed. And then when I went to him, I became manic, because he was so good. It was like out of this mind, like what the fuck is that? Crazy. And he was in Quiet Riot at the time, which by the way was the first Quiet Riot because the second Quiet Riot was after he died. Right.
Okay. Okay.
Quiet Riot was playing around LA, little
Uh-huh.
club, and people were going to see that band because they were going to see him, you know? And
Yeah.
and my parents, great parents, they were so supportive. They took me to these like clubs where I had to be chaperoned because I was underage. So at like 10 years old, I'm going to like these rock clubs and I'm seeing Randy on stage and everybody's like this. So it's no wonder obviously we knew he was going to get picked up. I mean, something was going to happen, because nothing against the band, but actually Randy and Rudy Sarzo, if you're familiar with him, the bass player, both of them were the best in the band. I mean, the other guys were great too, but you know, Andy especially stood out. But honestly, the biggest lesson I think, besides the discipline of practicing, was he gave me this self esteem that a little girl, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Yeah.
who's like I didn't want to play with dolls, no
Yeah.
dolls. No, I was told no, you can't play with me because you're a girl or you can't play this thing or this sport or some bullshit like that. He didn't, he didn't treat me like that at all. He was
Yeah.
just
Yeah. Yeah.
like, "Hey, you want to be a guitar player, man? Just do the work and practice." And I think that changed traject my whole trajectory of my life.
Right. Right.
Understood.
Yeah, because I was really insecure, on everybody telling me, "No, you're a girl, you can't do this, blah, blah, blah." And there's only a couple of ladies that were rocking out on the guitar. Nancy was
Mm.
from Heart and, Bonnie Raitt and stuff, but I wanted to be like him, you
Right.
know.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah.
that's my Randy Rhoads, story. And I ended up staying in touch with his family and I'm still in touch. I was close to his mother. I played at her funeral, you know.
No.
And yeah, I mean, the audition with Ozzy, I don't know if you know this story, but he got called, to have an audition
Okay.
with Ozzy,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
And so he's in the room and he's just like warming up and Ozzy had just walked in and just warming up. He's like, "All right, you have the gig. You don't even need to play for me."
Really? Wow. Wow.
That's
That's
super.
amazing. That is big.
You're like in the presence of Mozart, that kind of thing. He was a
Yeah.
prodigy. It's just and he
Yeah.
just gave
Yeah.
me so much confidence and self-esteem, and I'm so grateful for that. And my techniques I learned from him, you know, I don't sound like him, like except for every once in a while, if you listen to some of my work, oh, that's a Randy Rhoads riff, or that's a he uses. And the other thing he told me too was he told all of his students this actually because I've run into other students. He would say at our lessons, don't try to play exactly like me. I'm going to show you how to do this technique, or, I want you to
Mm.
practice, get good at, but you need to develop your own thing, your own style. And he also said, and it's on tape actually on YouTube, you can find old Randy Rhoads lesson tapes. Of
Okay.
course, I had them, but I don't know where they are. They're
Okay.
probably thrown out somewhere years ago. But you can hear him saying, "We got to do some blues." If you don't know blues guitar, you can't play rock and roll, which of course blues is the foundation of all American all rock and roll. I mean,
Okay.
blues is an American, it's a Black American genre that was
Hmm.
created
Hmm.
post slavery. It was before jazz, just
Yeah.
FYI. You know,
Wow.
Yeah.
so and blues guitar was before, all of that. So, my first song I learned with them and riffs and stuff was, Chuck Berry, Johnny Be Good,
Yeah.
you know. So
Yeah.
so yeah,
Yeah.
people when they say Randy Rhoads, they don't think blues guitar player, but he was really good as a
He was
blues
really good.
player.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
yeah.
Amazing.
Oh,
So yes,
that's great.
so right.
Yeah, Janet, from the whole perspective which you just shared about the blues, the rock, and the whole scenario, like you became lead guitarist for all-female rock band Precious Metal
I
while
did.
you were still very young. So, what was it like finding your voice in the middle of the 80s LA rock scene?
I'm still very young.
Of course. 100%.
Yes, yes.
100%.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. I did join Precious Metal. And sadly, it was the year after he died. I
Uh-huh.
was in high school. Yes, I was 16, and I answered a classified ad, and I think the reason I answered that particular ad was it said all female band, and I prior was in other male bands, and they either didn't take me serious or they wanted to be my boyfriend or what, something I
Mm.
wasn't interested in, So I
Right,
thought,
right.
oh, this is interesting, and the Go-Go's, that band, the Go-Go's, they were out. And like, okay, this band wants to be like rock, rock, all girl rock band. So I just, we hit it off immediately. Luckily I was driving, 16, just got my license, and I mean, I was pretty good by the time I was 16. And,
Mm.
you know, we started writing songs together, and I sort of cut my teeth more in writing songs with people in the band. And, I definitely, I was demanding about, let's make sure there's a guitar solo in every song. You know, in the 80s, the guitar solo was kind of a big deal, right?
Yeah.
Right, right, right.
Yeah.
It's kind of not so much that way anymore, which is fine. But I really, really wanted to make sure that my skills and my talents were being portrayed in the songs beyond the
Mm.
songwriting. So I made sure that there was guitar solos and was able to do some of my things I learned from Randy. And then I also picked up other things from other players and producers that we worked with in Precious Metal who were also guitar players. But I got to tell you, it wasn't easy back in the 80s when the hair metal
Hair
bands.
metal.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was easy and wasn't easy. It was easy in the fact that we stood out and we were real players, like all of us in the band. We were real players. That
Hmm.
said, sometimes after shows, people would walk up to us and say, "Your boyfriend playing behind the curtain?" What?
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm
That
like, "No,
is,
bro, you just saw me fucking play, dude. What's wrong with you?"
Oh
I
my
mean,
God.
just comments like that, or comments like, "You're pretty good for a girl."
oh, really?
Thinking thinking like that's a compliment.
No. Oh, God.
I
Of
know, but times have changed, back then,
course.
There were not so many, but we did manage to be seen by a lot of the local bands that were really coming up during the time. For example, Guns N' Roses.
Hmm.
So we were friends with Duff McKagan. Um,
Okay.
Poison. Poison. We ended up writing a song with CC DeVille from Poison. We opened. Um, we also opened for Extreme, and
Really?
all those guys in those bands, they were respectful. Once you
Very
saw it,
good.
it'd be like, no, there's nobody playing behind the curtain. We're playing right in front of you. We're actually playing. So I think, I just made my own voice to the best of my ability during that band and during that genre that was going on. We were, our band name was Precious Metal, but we always had trouble with that too because we were not like metal. We were like pop metal,
Pop
like
metal. Hmm.
so metal stations wouldn't play us because we weren't metal enough, and then pop stations wouldn't play us because we had some hard rock stuff
Hard
going.
rock. Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
on top of it, we were an all-girl band, which back then, uh, music directors of major radio stations back then in the 80s, they would tell your management or your radio promo person, "I'm sorry, we already have our one female on our playlist. We can
Mm.
we can only have one female fronted, band or artist on our playlist. One,
Just one, huh?
just one.
Wow.
Isn't that
And
crazy?
these are yeah, it's crazy. I mean, these are local stations.
Big ones. KLOS and
Oh,
K Rock was a little bit more open minded. Um, but yeah, I mean back then, KNAC, KNAC, and all over the country. That was kind of like the rule. One
oh,
female fronted. So, we just kept pushed through. We played, we toured, we kept writing
yeah,
and,
yeah.
we just pushed through literally until 1990 when grunge came and
Mm.
the whole thing down.
Seattle.
Yeah. We literally got messages, from our management saying, radio now they definitely won't play you because they're only playing grunge now. You Pearl Jam, Nirvana,
Yep.
Sound Soundgarden, yeah.
Soundgarden, yeah, yeah, that era I remember very well because I got into the whole. I actually my first band I got in as a singer in a metal band that was in 1992, 93, and yes, that was of course I grew up listening to all the
Right,
rock and metal from the 80s,
right.
and but then suddenly what happened over here in 90s,
Well, they look down on you,
Yeah, yeah,
and now, of course, I think it's coming back. I mean,
yeah,
it's just
a circle, yeah. That that's so awesome, precious metal. So I want to ask you, so after precious metal you were personally chosen by Lindsay Buckingham of Fleetwood Mac to join his touring band, and I see you're wearing the Fleetwood Mac t-shirt too.
purpose, but yeah, I am,
But how
that
did that
I'm sorry to interrupt. Go
yeah,
ahead.
no, I was just asking, so how did working with someone like Lindsay shape the way you think about guitar and songwriting?
So that it couldn't have come at a better time because I was really destitute when Precious Metal broke up and then the grunge and I was like, what am I gonna do now? And
Hmm.
I thought, well, maybe I should pawn myself out and try the hired gun thing. And so I was like, trying to play in people's bands and to get paid, right? Like as a session player and
Yeah, yeah,
what to do.
yeah.
It was actually somebody from our previous label that Precious Metal was on that started working with this lady who was an agent out here, and she was involved in putting musicians in major artists' band. Um,
Oh, okay.
and so Lindsay was putting together his first like touring band, you know.
Mm,
Lots of tours with Fleetwood Mac, but never one tour alone. Stevie Nicks had done tons of tours as a solo artist,
mhm.
but he was getting ready to do his first full-on tour, and he wanted to put a special band together because his solo songs have multiple guitar layers.
Mm,
Talk about another Mozart. And so he decided he wanted to put together a guitar army
Mm.
and recreate all of the production aspects on his songs that and his record Out of the Cradle, which is the one we were promoting, and recreate some of the Fleetwood Mac songs, which also have, more. There's more tracks on those songs than you think.
Mm. Mhm.
Um, yeah, he hired five guitar players. Well, four of us and him, two percussion players, a drummer,
Okay.
a bass player, and a keyboard player.
Mhm.
So that was a large band, and he purposely, you know, besides one of his friends that came on board, he purposely wanted to find sort of lesser known players, younger,
Mhm.
lesser known, fresh, right? And that was a great opportunity for me. And he wanted two guys and two girls. And the reason he wanted that is because the singing, obviously, in Fleetwood Mac, it's
Mhm.
male and female. And also, even on his solo record, he had some sort of higher
High pitch. Yeah.
Bee Gees, background vocals. And he just thought, if I need these vocals, in our songs on the road, they might as well play guitar too.
Mhm.
So, he found me and my friend Lisa Carbet, who was one of the original members of a band called Vixen.
Vixen, I think I've heard that back in the day.
Well, yeah, they were pretty big in the 80s. They were bigger
Yeah.
than metal. They
Yeah.
were they were another all-girl band. And she's both bass player and guitar player. So yeah, and she sings. And at the time I was singing, backgrounds mostly, And so it became this like instructional like time period where he was teaching all of us individually all the parts of each song to play. So it was like several months of that. And again, that's like going to class with, Beethoven every day and getting paid for it. You know,
Getting paid for it. Yeah, exactly. That's amazing.
here's the other thing. It was such good timing too, because the metal days, they had to be pushed to the side. This is
Mhm.
1992,
Mhm.
so he wasn't doing grunge, but he was doing this classic rock, and I needed to get back to my roots, and also some acoustic guitar playing and really intricate finger picking shit that I hadn't done since I was 8. You know, so and different kinds of guitars, and I had to learn how to play a part on a mandolin. What? It's like there was no mandolin in precious metal, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So, it was really like I think one of the most creative, um, inspiring, growing time of my career. I had that growth with Randy, but if you don't apply that, it doesn't matter. So I had the growth, and learned shit from Randy. I applied it with precious metal. That was over. Now it was in another phase, you know,
Mhm.
and it was a higher phase too because I was being paid. And so there was
Wow.
some things I took for granted. And I know I'm talking a lot, but the stories are interesting.
No, they are interesting. Yeah, go ahead.
So we were all very, kind of young and somewhat unknown, and unbeknownst to us, we didn't know we were being recorded on individual tracks, on
Mhm.
ADAC tracks at rehearsals. And then he would listen to our rehearsals.
Huh.
And if he heard you singing out of key or playing a wrong note or something, he would sit down and have that conversation with you, which was
Was
uh,
that stressful at the time,
I
or?
look like, I'm still friends with him, so I joke about this, that he's the reason I'm on anxiety medication. Oh, I mean, yes, it was so stressful, and because it was at such a higher level, and he's so demanding and perfectionist and all this. I was like, I spent all my, weekly salary on getting vocal lessons again, on getting guitar lessons from other teachers, and recording my parts that I had to. I mean, I became obsessed with making sure I was perfect, and because he's fucking insane, He's like, I mean, when you get to that level and you're being
Yeah.
paid, and you can't fuck up a Fleetwood Mac song,
Yeah.
you just can't, So he really whipped us all in shape, and that was another huge lesson. Like,
Mm,
don't take things for granted. Pay attention to what's going on.
mm,
Make sure, do you really know the part? How well do you know the part? Are you playing in time? Are you off key on this note? That note?
mm.
I mean, it's that, splitting hairs. And so, um,
Wow.
I've carried that forward and driven my clients crazy as well.
but do you think that that level of uh, especially like you said, he would sit down with you, he would go through the ADAT and be like, okay, and have that conversation and whatnot. Do you think that happens maybe even now or with some bands, or is
No
that
way. I mean,
mm,
I could be wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. It could happen with higher level people like Lady Gaga or I don't know.
mm,
Or they don't even do it. They have a music director that may sit down. Or there's two things that happen. You either get it or you don't and you're fired, right?
are you fired?
Nobody's gonna
Yeah.
sit down with you and say, you got to work on. And I was frightened out of my mind. And like I said, I'm still in touch with him. And years later after that whole period ended, I told him, like, you scared the shit out of me. Not scared the shit out of me. You just lit a fire. You know, you lit a fire under my ass. And he's like, you know, he's like, I knew you would rise to the occasion. He said that to
That's
me.
good. So he saw something, right? I mean, he saw that. That's why.
He
Yeah.
did.
So yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. And that
Because
that was
otherwise someone that level would not spend that time, right? Yeah.
they were
They'd be
not.
like, yeah.
And
They'd be
frankly,
like, you're out.
it wasn't all of us in the band. It was like me and one other person, which made me feel even worse. You know,
No.
but but yes, and he became a bit of a mentor when the gig ended. We stayed in touch, and he encouraged me to start singing on my own and write my own songs and get the fuck out on the road.
uh,
I mean, he was like, "Send me your demos, I want to go over them with you, or meet me in the studio. I want to play you some new stuff." I mean, and it still continues a little bit now, but he's older now. He's got some health issues. But he was so proud when I won the Grammy. He was
wow.
he was just, and I told him, I said, you're the one that made me crazy. You know, you made me crazy. So you're part of that journey too. But yeah, no, I've been fortunate, to have these people, these guitar players, come into my life that have just been inspiring and non-misogynistic, right?
Mm,
Don't care that I'm a girl, and somewhat mentoring me,
mm, mm, mm.
and it's validated a lot for me to keep moving forward because, as you know, this is not the easiest career.
No,
No.
no, absolutely
Really.
not.
And seriously, the your career graph, if when I see it, it's really inspiring. Like, you worked with a many inspiring or the biggest artists, like the one of my favorite, Tommy Emmanuel from Heart, and then to Air Supply, like so
Another one.
many big names. Yeah.
Big, huge
So
names.
I'm
yeah,
I'm I'm so grateful for all of those things, all of those times. It never stops. By the way, so I don't care how old you are, you're never good enough. You know,
Hmm.
if you think you're
Yep.
good
Yep.
enough, go see Tommy Emmanuel.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's just, that I think that's the beauty of it because it motivates artists, all artists, right?
Mm,
Even if you're a painter or what, sculptor, whatever. You always want to develop more and more skills and be inspired and be cultivated and you know, and also like I have a group of students, guitar students I teach,
mhm.
and those students teach me, right? right? Because I learn from them as well. I'm keeping up on the latest, music trends and artists, and it
Hmm.
forces me to play some music and things that I wouldn't normally, and I have to learn it on the spot, So it actually has made me a better player, a more
Hmm.
versatile player, like all genres, which I always
Hmm.
tell my students, look, you can have your favorite, but if you want to work in this business, you got to know all kinds of things. Yeah, you got to know as much as possible, if you want to get work, you know.
Right.
And then, working, producing, new artists and people that want my arrangement and production help, and then of course the string revolution, which I know I'm taking up all the speaking time here, but
We were
the,
gonna
Oh, no, no.
we were gonna come to that.
yeah, and that's been really my main focus lately, besides producing and some other stuff I've been working on. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. Any
So
other
these
questions?
collaborations, with Hart and Tommy Emmanuel, Air Supply. Can you tell us, like, I think you already did, but can you elaborate a little more? Like, what have they taught you about listening as a musician?
Well, Hart came to be working with Ann and Nancy Wilson when I was in Precious Metal, our very final record. The label
Uh,
we were on a small label that was distributed by Capitol Records. They were on Capitol.
uh-huh.
So label people put us together and we got to fly up to Seattle and, write with them and party and, but it wasn't all just one big party. We were, writing and making demos, and that was just amazing. Just to be around how they work, how they write.
Uh,
Um,
uh,
and their voices. Oh my God, Ann Wilson. I
yeah,
mean,
of
what?
course, yeah,
It's like it's
of course.
amazing. And she's sitting right in front of me. And one night we were just playing after dinner. We were just playing covers, like Elton John and Beatles songs,
Hmm.
and I can't believe sitting here with, I mean, Nancy, both of them were idols of mine because, again, I had a lot of male, guitar idols, but there weren't a lot of females out there, and they were the only ones.
We're the only ones, yeah. Got it.
Really,
Yeah.
so they taught me to, we shared some of the female, you know, bullshit that happens, being a female in this
Yeah,
business.
yeah, yeah.
But we bonded a little bit with that, and they really wanted to help our band. I kept in touch with them afterwards, and I ended up opening like for them once as an acoustic artist, doing my solo thing, and they've been very generous, and I think the biggest thing I learned from them was perseverance,
Mm,
perseverance, because they were like big in the 70s. Then there was this big lull, and then
mm, mm,
towards the end of it was really the end of the 80s they came back again, and then there
hmm.
was something going on in the 90s,
Ups
and
and
there
downs, ups and
still
downs.
is totally, a lot of new music from them coming out. They're, I think, basically making a living by going on the road. But those girls have been through a lot, a
Mm,
lot. And so that was perseverance. Air Supply, nicest guys ever. They saw me playing in a hired gun gig with this other 70s like road show, and they were using a guitar track. They weren't an electric guitar track.
hmm, hmm.
They they hadn't decided that they really wanted electric guitar on their live shows, and I knew their road manager because he used to be Precious Metals road manager. Yeah, and, this is how it is. Like I always tell people, just stay in it, because you'll see a lot of the same people. So he said to the boys, you got to watch this girl, check out her set with these guys that she's playing. So they invited me, no audition and no
Wow,
rehearsal. No audition and no rehearsal for the first show. They gave me a
wow.
CD and they said, "Here's our show."
Just
Oh,
learn these songs.
yeah, yeah. And the first show was at the Grove in Anaheim. Do you know that
And
venue?
yeah, yeah, I know the rule. Yeah,
Pretty big venue.
yeah, yeah. Wow, that's
That
awesome.
that was another level. It was like, because
Hmm.
I was used to so much, rehearsal and get every part down. Coming from Lindsay to that, here's CD. See at the shot, see at sound check.
Oh,
what happened to all the, recording me at rehearsal, right? So I learned a lot from that gig, and I was alternating during that time doing solo stuff. It was like the early 2000s, and I was releasing my own records and doing that whole DIY thing, and booking my own shows, and yeah, just and I would take these hired gun gigs here and there if I could work it out between my own touring I was doing. And I ended up having some vocal issues, and I had to have
Mm,
surgery on my vocal cords. And
Oh,
it was really tough for me to sing just in general. Like I like singing, but I'm a guitar player. Like
right, right,
that,
right.
that's what I am. You know, I'm backgrounds. I can do it. I can work on it, and I can nail it. But being a lead singer, people they want to hear a lead singer, and people were coming, I think, to my shows. I think they liked my songs, and I had character in my voice, and all
Hmm.
that. And they were coming to see me play also. So
Right.
I decided, you know what? I'm going to start something that doesn't require singing, and and I wanted to focus on guitar, and I want to do experimental things with guitar, be it acoustic or electric. I thought acoustic first because it's much easier to tour with, and then I thought I don't want to do it solo. I want to put together some kind of guitar army, you know,
Mm.
like Lindsay did, and I want to have these arrangements, and I want to write songs or do covers that are uniquely arranged, not just like
Yeah, yeah.
elevated, something special, and people who really are great players. And so I put an ad out looking
Okay.
for new people I never met, and that's how that happened.
That's how the string revolution. I was just coming to that. The string revolution, and just for our viewers too who are going to listen to this, please go and check out the website. We'll put all the links. The string revolution. Correct me. It blends classical, rock, world influences, a lot of things in a very unique way, like you said. And you also won a Grammy for best arrangement for the string revolution. It's such a huge milestone. So, what did that moment represent for you after such a long musical journey?
I think, and I want to be careful how I say this because, one shouldn't do art for trophies, right? And can you judge art? Not really, it's subjective.
Hmm.
However, in the United States, I grew up watching the Grammys, and to me, that's like the Olympics, of the
Yeah, yeah,
music
yeah.
um, business.
Hmm.
And I think it was it was pure validation and respect. That was what that's how I felt when they announced us. And we're all listed as
Amazing.
separate arrangers, so we each get a Grammy. Uh,
Wow.
well, here it is. I don't know if you can see it. See it?
yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, yes.
The golden.
So because we all participated in the arrangement, they give each one of us a trophy, whatever you want to call it. I don't like that word either, but it's a respected community, and I think I felt validity, and
Hmm.
like, God, I went through a lot of shit in this career.
Yeah, yeah,
you know,
yeah.
um, thank God my mom was alive, is
Uh,
still, to see it. She has dementia, but she saw it. My
uh,
dad, fortunately, had passed, but if he had been alive, he would have like ran out in the middle of the street with the fucking, horn. "Ah!" He would have announced it.
well,
Yeah,
I'm sure. I mean, he's watching from above. He knows it. Yeah.
yeah, it was a culmination of, I think, just like perseverance,
Hmm.
hard work, practice, discipline,
Hmm. Hmm.
diligence.
Hmm.
Also learning more about the business side, which I think a lot of artists don't realize. You gotta go out,
Hmm.
gotta network, you gotta, reinvent. things, try out different instruments, work with different people, do a lot of different things, be in a band, produce, do some session work, teach, I mean, and I
Hmm.
think that day that happened, like my whole life flashed in front of me.
It all came together, right? Yeah.
And I had a speech prepared, and they let the guys, and Tommy and John Carter Cash, they all let me do the speech, which was very nice because they only give you like 30 seconds. Um, and honestly, Tommy is the feature on it, but it's our arrangement and
Mm,
his arrangement of his featured playing. But sure, I mean, having his name on the
hmm.
recording, it didn't hurt, I'm not gonna deny any of that, but it doesn't
Right.
matter anyway because
Yeah. Yeah.
the the Grammys are the only institution where it's musicians that vote.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not label people, it's not press people, it's none of that. Like, that's different for Oscars and Emmys. It's
Right.
it's peer to peer. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, and what's funny is, Tommy had been nominated twice before and never won
Mm,
Mm-hmm.
until he did this with us.
that's amazing.
Super.
And I mean, it doesn't take away his playing either. It's just a weird thing, how
Yeah.
like you think you're going to get something, and it's like you want something to happen in your life or in your career, and it happens, but it doesn't happen the way that you think
Yeah.
it could happen, So that's how that is. Yeah, and I don't take that for granted. And if we win again or I win again, great. It's a compliment. I just want to keep making quality, unique, interesting music.
Yeah. Yeah.
Understood.
That's awesome.
No,
Awesome.
no, you're after almost more than decades of touring, recording, and composing and collaborating with all these big names like a Tommy. What do you hope people ultimately feel when they hear your music?
I want them to be inspired,
Mm, mm,
like I have been when I listen to some songs. Um, I want them to feel some kind of connection to it, whether it's a fast song and it makes you happy or want to dance, or if it's a slow, heartfelt instrumental. Because yes, a lot of our songs, we don't have vocals, so we have to
mm,
really convey that through our playing and through our arrangements. I just
mm,
want I want the listener to feel connected. I want them to feel like I get what they're doing. I get what they're doing. It makes me feel a certain. I mean, that's ultimately what all art should be anyway, right? Some kind of connection to it. And yeah, I mean, if I can make somebody smile and be happy because they heard me play a funny riff or something, I mean, that's great, you
that's
know,
amazing.
right?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
if I made them,
Understood.
think about something that was like they missed someone, or said made them feel a certain way, maybe, maybe a little sad, but it's okay, that kind of thing. I'm okay with that too, just
That's amazing. Yeah. So cool. So cool.
That's no, really. That's for like us also. Sandeep is a singer. I am a composer. Like even when we were describing about winning the Grammy, like of course we can't feel that thing, but I somewhat feel that similar thing when I first got a mail from a recording academy that I become a Grammy voting member. So it was like
and that and
really,
that's a huge thing too. Becoming
yeah,
a voting member. I never thought I would be a voting member
yeah,
either. I mean,
yeah.
what?
Mhm.
You know? So that's huge to be recognized as a voter. And honestly, when we first of all, I mean, we didn't expect to get a nomination. We got nominated, and then
Exactly.
I definitely didn't. I was like, I don't know about winning. We and our competition, they were all amazing artists,
Mhm.
So I was just, like, enjoying the nomination, and I was like, I'm good with that, like
Yeah.
it was shocking, when that happened. But I think, if we reach people with our music and people enjoy listening to it, and if you can make a living from it and you dedicate, basically your life, um, that's a win.
Yeah, surely.
Yep. Agree.
That's a win there. And so there you go.
Exactly. No, really. Even for me, I was talking with Sandeep when I first time voted for Grammys. The biggest happiness for me was like watching all those idols name and like seeing my song's name in the same list. Like, okay, Dream Theater's name is there, and okay, Suraj Parab's name is there. I was like, oh my god.
So great to see it, your submission, on the ballot, and there's
Yeah,
ballot, your submission on
yeah.
the ballot. I remember that too. We submitted many times before the nomination happened. So it wasn't like, oh, we submitted and we got nominated. No. It was
Really.
like 7 or 8 times,
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
submitting. So
No, that's weird. So
Amazing.
really, Janet, really, thank you so much for spending this time with us, and we really appreciate the story behind
my
your music.
my
Really.
pleasure. Thank you for spending time with me and letting me share my story.
No, it was a great story. The conversation is really a reminder that a musical life isn't just one path. It's a series of evolutions. So thank you so much.
That's a really good quote right there. I'm gonna have to steal that.
Surely.
Well,
Really.
let me know when this comes out and send me a link and I'll promote it.
Yeah, sure.
Awesome.
And to everyone who's listening, thank you so much for being here with us. Please go check out Janet Robbins' work on Apple Music, Spotify, on your favorite music streaming platform. Go check
And
out her.
the string revolution as well.
Yeah, and
Yes.
String Revolution mostly.
Yeah.
And go check out her Instagram, follow her. If you have any questions, go DM. She will surely
Yeah, man.
reply.
I
Yeah.
answer everybody.
And don't forget to share this episode with someone who loves to listen to music and someone who loves to listen to rock music. And we will see you in the next episode of the Artist Conversation.